I'm recording this video on the 5th of September 2024, and as is usual in the world, there's lots of bad things going on. But I'm going to tell you about a slightly bad thing that happened at the very beginning of September, which probably is not on most people's radars. But if you're somebody who uses Excel and you're a super user and you use Visual Basic behind Excel or macros, you may have this problem. So the issue is that Microsoft helpfully put an update on at the beginning of September 2024, which seems to have almost completely broken VBA that runs behind Excel. So let me explain what I mean, and I will also give you the solution to fix the problem, which actually means rolling back this Office update. So I have Excel open, and at the moment I'm a research scientist, and one of the things I work on is a program that helps scientists to capture microplate data. Now again, you don't have to worry about that. You're probably not a biologist, but just to explain the context of this program. And the program exists as an add-in, so I'm going to go to the add-in. It's called the Plate Maker Wizard. It's still under development, but I hope to release this to the academic community towards the end of this year or maybe next year. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run one of the templates that this program uses, just to show you how it works in terms of the speed at which the program works. Then we're going to stop. I'm going to apply the Office update, and you're going to see what happens. So again, you don't need to know the details of this program, but what I'm going to do is I'm just about to build a workbook using this program, which then will allow scientists to collect data and then use it to create prism graphs and all sorts of other things. So I'm just going to click Build Workbook, and you'll see it starting to build. And you can see it's working at a reasonable speed. Once the program has built this workbook, I will just quickly show you what it's done. Again, it's not really relevant to this video, but the relevant bit will be when you see what happens when we apply the update. So you can see this program has built some plate maps. Again, you don't have to understand this. If you're a scientist that uses high content screening, you'll understand how these sort of experiments. It's produced a flat data file with all the different data ready to receive all the information from all the different numerical information. It'll associate all this together, and then from there you can use pivot tables and do sort of all sorts of slicing and dicing of data, and we can do clever things and like porting that to Prism Graph to make all the graphs and so on and so forth. So that's the way the program works. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause the video here, or we're going to take a break, and I'm going to apply the update that was given by Microsoft at the beginning of September, and then we're going to repeat the process and run the program exactly as I just did with the update applied, and you'll get to see the problem. So here we go. So we're back after applying the Excel update, or the Microsoft 365 Office update that was released. I think it was released early in September, although I think if you look on the website it says late August, so I'm not really sure. But anyway, I've applied the update, and I'm going to run the exact same program we just ran. Okay, so again, it's just this template. I'm going to run it again, and you'll see that it seems to start normally, but watch what happens here. So it's building the plate maps, and you'll see that as it starts doing this, as it's working through building these plate maps and building the container workbook, it gets slower and slower and slower. And by the time it gets to creating the equations, it's really going at snail pace. What is even more disturbing is if you repeatedly run the program, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So clearly there is something major going on behind the scenes with the VBA. So you can see it's really slowing down now. If you remember, you can compare it directly. We'll do a time comparison at the end. But you can see at the moment it's running a lot slower than it was before. And by the time we get to the equations that it's creating, it's very, very slow. So we'll let it run. And I might just sing a song while we're waiting. I mean, it's just, I don't know how many times it's slowed it down, but it is quite incredible that one single update can do this to a program. It's one of the annoying things I think about probably using sort of VBA code, but obviously if you're a power user, using VBA behind Excel can be very powerful, and you can do some really cool things with it. So hopefully, this is something which Microsoft will fix. In fact, if you are watching this video and you have any connections to Microsoft, they really need to know that this update has really, really done something seriously bad to VBA behind Excel. I don't know what it is, but it's just, yeah, it's not looking good. All right, so it's about to come to an end. There it goes. So it still built the workbook. It just took a lot longer. But here's the really disturbing thing. We're just going to run it a second time, and you'll see what I mean. So if I run it now a second time, you will see now that even the first part is slowing down. Just see that it's just taking forever, and it just gets the performance just keeps degrading and degrading and degrading every time. So there is clearly a problem. I don't know what the problem is, but clearly something is gone majorly wrong with the way the program is probably cleaning itself up once the VBA is executed. So yeah, I don't know what it is, but there you go. So I'm going to push cancel, and I'm going to stop the program so we don't bore everyone. And again, it's taking forever to even cancel the program. Before you would just cancel, you can see it's whirling around. It will cancel at some point. And finally, if I close Excel, which I'm going to do now, even closing Excel takes an age. So it's just like, it seems to be just using up, VBA just seems to be swallowing all these system resources and not releasing them. Okay, so how do we fix this problem if this update has been installed? And this is what I'm going to show you next. So helpfully, on the website answers.microsoft.com, somebody has flagged this issue, and you can see it was a Clint R. Laurent, and the title is Excel with Macros Running Very Slow After Latest Update. And this was posted on the 1st of September 2024. And helpfully, this gentleman here, Snow Lou, who is a Microsoft agent, has actually put the solution to how to roll back Excel so that the VBA problem is removed. And what we're going to do is, you can follow the instructions. We're just going to do this now. I'm just going to do it for you on YouTube so you can see how it's done, just in case you're not that familiar with doing this sort of thing. Just to say a quick word of warning, one of the problems with Microsoft Office is there's lots of different versions. So there's like the enterprise versions. The version that I'm using is the standard Microsoft 365 as a private user. So if you're somebody who has a Microsoft account and you just subscribe to 365, that is the version I'm using. I'm also using 64-bit Office. I cannot guarantee that this will work with all the enterprise versions. So again, that's just a word of warning. But certainly, if you're a private user, I can confirm that this solution definitely works, and you'll see it working. I'm actually going to demonstrate it to you. I suggest that if you're an enterprise version, you might have to look into it a bit further. But I would imagine that if you do the rollback and it doesn't work, you can then just re-update because Microsoft are pushing updates down the line all the time. But again, you do this at your own risk, but certainly what I'm about to show you works if you're just a private subscriber to Microsoft and you just subscribe to 365. Okay, so without further ado, let's do it. So the first thing we do is we're going to reopen Microsoft Excel. We go to Accounts, and we have to actually switch off the update option. And the reason we have to do that is quite obvious, because if we don't disable the updates and we roll it back, all that's going to happen is you'll roll it back and then it'll just reinstall the update, the faulty update, and you'll be back to square one. So that makes sense. So we've done that. We've disabled the updates. Now we're just going to close Excel and close Office altogether. The next thing we need to do is we need to go into what's called the command prompt. And for the very old people among you, the command prompt was actually part of the original DOS system before Windows was even born. Some of you weren't even born probably when this existed, but there you go. So we type in CMD, and then we need to right click on the thing that comes up as the best match, and we need to run it as administrator. So again, if you don't have administrator privileges to the computer, you won't be able to do this. So you need to have administrator privileges to your computer. We say yes, and we get this little system here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy these two commands that are actually in the solution, and I'll explain what these commands are doing. So the first command I just type in here. So this is what's called change directory. So directory is the old nomenclature for folders, and we're simply changing the directory. This first part is the system name for where the path is for your program files. Common files is a subfolder in that. Microsoft Shared is a subfolder. And then we have this click to run. So we simply push enter, and that will take us into the right system folder for running the next program. And then the next program that we run is this one. And this is called Office to our client, XE. We're going to update the user update to version, and this version that has been supplied by the Office Microsoft agent is one which rolls it back to before the faulty update that messed up VBA was introduced. So all we do is we push enter, and you'll see now that behind the scenes we now have Microsoft is checking for updates, and in a minute it's downloading that particular Office update, and it will reapply it to Microsoft Office. So this actually takes a bit of time. So what we're going to do is we're not going to wait for it to happen on the video, otherwise you guys will get bored. We will just come back to the video once it's downloaded the older version of Microsoft Office, or it's unrolled the update. Okay, so I'll see you back here shortly. Okay, so the program has finished, and you see it says updates were installed. So we'll simply close that little window, and we shall now restart Excel. I shall start my add-in for the moment, and we're going to run it again. So again, I'm just going to run one of the tutorial templates, the same one we've been running all the time. So here we go, I run it, and once again you can see it's doing it nice and crisp again. It's back to its normal speeds, and there you go, it's building the equations quite happily, and it's built the workbook as it did before. And in fact, if I run it a second time, there's no obviously degradation in speed, so we'll just run it a second time. I forgot to show this at the beginning, but you see what I mean. We'll just run it a second time, and it just runs exactly the same as it did the first time, and we'll keep doing that. So clearly that's how VBA used to work before that update was applied, and it works like that again if you roll back that update. So that's really the purpose of this video. It's really to help people who maybe are power users of Excel. They've been using macros for a long time, or they have add-ins, and suddenly the performance has just collapsed in September 2024. If that's happened to you, there is a solution. You can roll it back. Now, obviously, the one slight issue is I've switched off the updates, so I'm hoping at some point enough people will contact Microsoft that they'll realise that they've done something to VBA behind the scenes and release the correct update to correct the current problem. But until then, I can't update my Office. And in fact, I can't release my program because, let's face it, if I release it now, people will just think it's rubbish because it won't work properly with the current version of Office. But there you go. But hopefully they will fix it. So if you're somebody who is watching this and you actually are from Microsoft, then please, please, please do put an urgent thing through, because you've definitely done something behind the scenes with VBA, which seems to me pretty serious. And I'm not the only person who is suffering from this problem. There seems to be lots of chat now coming out that something has happened in this latest update. Alright, that's pretty much it. If you like this video, please do think about subscribing, especially as when I release my program, I'm going to be doing lots of educational videos on it. So if you're a scientist who does this sort of work, works with ELISAs and microtiter plates, you may be interested in the program in the future. And if you're not a scientist, well, I sometimes do interesting thought videos, but very rarely. I used to do those during lockdown, but hey, I don't do that anymore. But you never know, I might at some point do a thought video, who knows. Anyway, I hope this video helps and fixes any issues you're currently having with your macros since the latest Office update. And have a great day. Bye.